Welcome back to the Check Swing Podcast with myself and the star of the show, the brains, beauty, and the brawn of the show. Oh man, Coach Santa, how you been, brother? It's been a couple weeks.
Did you just publicly call me beautiful?
Not exactly, but I mean, I'll let you ride with it.
Okay, I'm good.
I'll let you think I did.
I mean, this is being recorded, so
It is being recorded. You can always check back and see if I said it or not. And recommend you go back and check and see if I see it or not. After the show is over, go back to the YouTube channel and go play the show again and watch it again and share it with your friends. This is the Check Swing Podcast, and I don't think you answered the question. So, how you been? Did you answer the question?
yeah, I'm good, my friend. I am very, very good.
I don't think I'm used to the answers being that short. Like I do that, and that's usually my time to think about what I want to say next. So,
I mean, I can make some stuff. So, no, I don't got anything. I
you got
started
nothing.
I started taking public transportation to work to save on gas, and it's free for my job, and it's been entertaining some mornings.
Yeah, you usually have like some type of story every week.
So coming home today, the bus got crowded, but the bus driver was insistent on still picking up passengers.
Mm.
Um, and the crowd kind of turned on her. Um, so here's my suggestion for the future bus operators of America. If you're going to be loud and obnoxious to your customers, don't have a hairstyle that could be made fun of.
Ooh, ooh, it went there
Uh,
on the bus today, huh?
oh my goodness, they called her short. They called her a bald headed midget. These are the clean versions, by the way. She was short and she had those. She twisted her hair into like real small things, but it looked tight. So if you're looking at it from the wrong angle, it did look like kind of a balding, receding hairline.
Yeah, she could be contemplating her career choices at this point right now.
Yeah.
Cause I know, like, I don't know how bad Baltimore is with it, but I know if session had started to go down in Philly, it probably would still be going on right now. Probably would have filed her home talking about everything that she had on, everything she said, how she said it, what she looked like, where she was, everything. So I can only imagine how Baltimore carried that whole situation. Um, so it's been a couple weeks since we were able to, since we had a show, and I think the last show we had, I believe, was the first night of the NFL draft. I just dropped my cone. First night of the NFL draft. So we never even got to talk about the Eagles draft night. It was also there was something else going on that night too, but I can't remember. But at the time, the Sixers were still in the playoffs.
The who?
The Sixers,
Sorry.
the Philadelphia 76ers. I know that you have Baltimoric ears now.
No, no, don't say that. It's not Baltimore. I may have Baltimore transit in my head, but you know. I mean, but there, because the big story in Baltimore was about Lamar Jackson, which we'll touch on later. But that's since been resolved.
That has since been resolved. We haven't talked about that yet, I don't believe. And it's just some things that we got to cover. But what we're going to cover first, of course, like I said, the Sixers were in the playoffs. The playoffs are still going on right now, and the Sixers are not in the playoffs anymore. They are no longer in the playoffs. Lost in 7 games to the Boston Celtics. Game 7 was just a travesty. The second half was a travesty. The second half was just one of the ugliest things I've seen in my history of watching Philadelphia sports, to be honest with you. And the hated, dreaded Celtics move on. Um, Joel Embiid won the MVP, and now there's a lot of talk of whether or not he should still be on the team. Miguel, I know where you stand with it, but I'm going to let you have the floor and you let everybody else know where you stand with it. Don't fall asleep on me.
I think I know the coach is always the scapegoat, and I don't think it helps Doc Rivers. I guess reputation that this is what like his eighth blown lead up 3 games to 1 or 3 games to 2 or whatever the case may be. I'm just wondering if this is the right mix of players. I'm wondering if it's time to ship off. Right.
I said this lightly so I wouldn't interrupt you, but no, it's not the
The,
right
the
mix.
the biggest mistake that the Sixers made was deciding to ride with Ben Simmons instead of Jimmy Butler. I said it then. I'm saying it now. It's just an absolute travesty. And based on what you said, they're probably on their way to sweeping the Celtics. But I think the Sixers are kind of in where the Flyers are at. They're in this old school Comcast Spectacor, like Ed Snyder kind of dual package kind of thing. Um, and they always seem to always choose the wrong leaders, so to speak. It was just like I think that there was an opportunity for the Sixers to get somebody big when Allen Iverson left, and then they chose Andre Iguodala to be the heir apparent, the AI 2.0, if I remember those billboards correctly. And he just wasn't that player. And the Flyers have done that with a couple of players, and I think even the Flyers have gone out of their way to keep some, I guess, some semi-popular former players like Keith Jones, who's hysterical on some of the morning shows, and Daniel Briere, who was a good star, but they're not Philly guys. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm kind of thinking like there has to be a change in philosophy from the leadership on up in the Sixers organization. Um, I just think for as far as Embiid, what left a bad taste in my mouth was the year that we had the opportunity with Jimmy Butler, and again, I've never seen anybody get 6 stomach viruses in a span of 4 weeks. Um, did he dog it this year? Not as bad as I've seen in the past. Was he worth the MVP? It could have been a pity MVP because of what he should have gotten previously. It's like
I have to stop you there, but I'll let you continue in just a second. Did he deserve it? Absolutely. Um, I was able to watch just about every game this year. What he did in the regular season was amazing, and
I
I'll leave it
guess
at that.
I guess um you know what it is because now it's like you did all that and you still wound up losing almost the same way you have the last what is it now 3 years 4 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Do you blow it again and start the what was it called the when you lose on purpose
Tank.
the tank 3.0 or 4.6 or
I can't sit through another one of those. I really cannot. I cannot. I can't.
but it work
That was rough.
but doesn't it work? I mean then you get like all those first round
Does it
draft.
work? Does it work?
I don't see a parade for the Sixers.
That's what I'm saying. So what would be the point of doing it again?
So I
If
guess
you do it again, you're going to lose your fan base.
well, I don't even know if they really care about the fan base, because I mean, the owner bought what the Washington Commanders, and he owns the New Jersey Devils, and so it's like that's why I'm saying like when it comes to the leadership, the organization, there has to be a philosophy that like is really focused not just on winning but also development. And I don't know if it's there. I don't know if the commitment is there.
And I like that you mentioned development because that's something that Doc Rivers has been it's been claimed notoriously, how do I say it? It's been claimed that he is notorious for not developing the youth, the younger guys. Um, And I'm thinking, I'm looking at the roster right now. Paul Reed, who was, I know, at least a one time MVP in the D League or G League, whatever it's called. Um, he was either one time MVP or two-time MVP, but played very sporadically. Even this year, I mean, by the time the end of the season came around, he was getting solid minutes off the bench behind Embiid. But he had been on the roster, Doc's almost entire, I think his entire tenure with the team, and he definitely could have got some opportunities earlier to be a better player now. So development wise, I completely agree with what you say there because who else has developed under Doc? I mean, you could say Maxi, but I'm not going to say Maxi because Maxi was already good. He just almost didn't get his opportunity because he had Shake Milton in front of him, and Shake Milton got hurt, which forced Doc to play Maxi, and then you saw what Maxi was and what he's become. Um, couldn't develop uh, Ben Simmons. You could say you could say Embiid got better while he was here, um, but he was also a veteran. He wasn't a younger guy when he got here. He was a veteran. So yeah, that development, when you talk about the development of the 76ers and the tenure under Doc Rivers, you can't really say they're a better team now than they were before he got here. Would you agree?
Absolutely. So with the, I think the Harden experiment is over, in my humble opinion.
It should be. I
Only
like James Harden, but it should be over.
because how do you go from being like a damn juggernaut, you score 45 points in game one, and like you're out of breath in like the second or third quarter, and just not like I don't get the like you're on and then you're off and then you can't ever find it again. I just don't get that.
Well, I would say that James Harden is just he's not the player that he once was. There's a
Well,
time where he could do that on a nightly basis. Can't do that anymore. You can't expect him to do it anymore.
and
That's and that's where MB has to step up.
right, and I guess the other thing too is like, why is Embiid shooting threes? I mean, I get that he
I'm
can
going to
do.
give you. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I get that he can do it once in a while, but it's like, why is he playing defense on the and he's not in the paint? You know what I mean? Like I've seen that,
Mm.
and that is a Doc Rivers thing to me.
I'm
But
going to look up something real quick. Go ahead. Keep going. I just want. I don't want you to think I'm being rude.
oh no, that's fine. We've coached together. I know the cues. Um, but yeah, I just don't. It's almost like when it comes, if you break it down baseball wise, how, and I've heard this a lot in the start because we're starting our summer league and we had a coaches meeting, and I don't know all the names of some of the coaches in this area, but some of the things that I'm hearing is like when we go from the high school season to our summer season, there are a lot of players that come to us and they did our off-season program, like they did the plyo ball work, they're doing all of the training, in the off season, and then they come back to us in the summer, and they're completely off because you have these coaches that have their one dimension philosophy. This is the way we do things here. So some of the pitchers will come to us like, yeah, I did no plyo work, and then you wonder why like things are disconnected and they're not throwing strikes and stuff like that. I just don't get it at the professional level, and I guess the result is getting fired, like with Doc Rivers. Um, I never understood how coaches stick to a certain philosophy when you have players that are talented and like phenomenal, just not in your system. It's like with the Chip Kelly thing. Like how when you think about what Chip Kelly did by trading LaShawn McCoy, by cutting Deshaun Jackson, He should have had at least three Super Bowls, but you got rid of them to get freaking Kiko Alonso and the running back from the Cowboys. Never get a former Cowboy, so you know what I mean. But yeah, I just
What's
never.
his name is Michael Parsons like right now?
I'd get Parsons though. He's a linebacker. I think he's a little different, but he's lonely. He needs friends.
Who's that?
What's his name? For the Michael Parsons from the Cowboys. Because how you gonna be you wore a Phillies jersey, a Sixers jersey, and then you're up in Boston wearing a Celtics jersey. It's like, bro,
I mean, when you're in those circles, I don't know who his friends are. He might be friends with somebody on the Celtics.
then he
I
has
don't know.
then he has too many friends. I mean, typical Cowboys. They just if they're not on drugs, then they're just on TV where nobody cares
Hey, he's
about.
a Penn Stater though. You gotta give him
No,
something to
I
look.
hate Penn State as an organization. Sorry.
Okay.
I saw over the weekend that the movie about Joe Paterno, played by Al Pacino, who actually played a very good Joe Paterno. Makes me hate Penn State even more.
When did that come out? That's an old movie, right?
Oh yeah, well yeah, it came out like maybe 2 years after the scandal.
Yeah, I never saw it.
But
I'm
the
gonna
guy
check
they had
that
playing Sandusky looked exactly like him, and it made me hate Penn State all over again.
out. So I wanted to look up some information because you said something about why is he always shooting threes, and I've said it before. I don't know if I've said it on the show. When he was introduced to the game of basketball, he would watch videos of Larry Bird, and that's who he tried to emulate. Um, I mean, I'm assuming he was in Cameroon. You see these videos of the sport that you want to play, you want to emulate what you see. He was making all those shots that can be enticing. You know, somebody making shots, that's what I'm gonna do. Watch this. I can remember going out on a basketball court and trying to do some old crazy moves in the air like Michael Jordan. That wasn't making me better or doing like I was just doing it because that's what I thought he was doing. I remember Allen Iverson came along, everybody was trying to do the crossover. So to him, like that, I think that was the same thing. And let's add that to the fact that he was introduced to the game at 14 years old. So he literally has been playing basketball for 15 years. Some guys in the NBA play basketball for 15 years when they first hit the league, right? Think about that. When they first hit the league now, they're hitting the league 18, 19, 20 years old. They've been playing basketball for 15 years. Embiid, almost 30 years old, is getting to his 15th is just getting to his 15th year of basketball in his life. So for you and I and any other fan out there, that what we expect, what I believe we expect as fans from Joel Embiid is him to go down into the post, be a Shaq, a Patrick Ewing, or something like that. We would love to see that. We would love to see that, but I don't think that's in his game, especially at this point in his life. I don't think that's in his game. He can go down to the post a little bit, but he's not that power guy. I think because the way the game is called, a lot of time, like I think a lot of what Shaq did in his time, I feel like they would have caught a foul, offensive foul on Shaq now, in this time, even though Shaq wasn't fouling anybody. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be able to do well. What I'm saying is they call foul for a lot less than what Shaq was going through then. So like when you see a smaller guy on Embiid, or Marcus Smart on Embiid, and they're in the post, and he doesn't take him, to the bucket like he should. I believe that's some of that is due to the fact that so many times in his past when he's going up against Marcus Smart in the paint, there has been a foul called against Embiid because Marcus Smart maybe flopped or whatever the case may be. So I think just subconsciously he's gun shy of going to the paint against somebody like Marcus Smart.
See why I hate basketball?
Yeah, hey, you've been saying this since day one. You've been saying this since day one. But let's put it this way: if give me a point guard from back in the '90s. If B.J. Armstrong had been guarding Shaq in the paint in Shaq's heyday, and Shaq turned around, took him to the bucket and dunked on him. No way they're calling a foul on Shaq with that. He's supposed to do that. It's not the case today. Unfortunately, it's not the case today. And every center in the league now, I can't think of any centers in the league now that that will just post you up. It's a lost art in today's game.
Yeah, there was a I was reading something that a famous writer, now retired, was saying about Embiid, that he thinks that it may be time to consider trading him, because at this point, at this age, he may start to break down because of his size and because of the history of big men. Um, you know, the knees start to go, and he's already had his share of knee problems, and that's not really great for a 7 footer. And really, the league itself doesn't have your traditional 7 foot 1 centers anymore. It's really just about speed and
Mm-hmm.
shooting as best as you can, and then not going into paint because basketball's not a sport and you get called for a foul. So I think it might be time to consider maybe trading Embiid. What do you think about that? Is it too soon?
So when you think about it logically and you put it in terms of what you said, it could be time to consider that. But I think it also depends on what you want for your team going forward in the immediate future. Do you want your team to be not a playoff team, one of the stink teams again, um, or do you want your team to be a second round loser? Like the whole reason the process started was because the Sixers were not good enough to move on. But when I just think, just as a side note, when I think about who they had, Andre Iguodala, NBA champion. They got Drew Holiday on that team, NBA champion. They had, I want to say, Kyle Korver on that team. I believe he's an NBA champion. So it's almost like if you stick with something that they can become something. Um, how do I personally feel about trading Embiid? I wouldn't do it, right? And it might be just because I like having that star player that brings a lot of attention to my team. But I can remember a few years ago, I think it was the summer the summer that Ben Simmons started going through all that stuff. I told a friend of mine, I told R Dot, I said you can trade anybody on the team except for three people. I said you can't trade Embiid. And this was 2 years ago. So you can't trade Embiid, you can't trade Maxi, and you can't trade can't think of his name. They traded him this year though. Um he was a defender. I keep getting his name right there and I lose it that fast. But I'll think about it. Some random when we're talking about the Eagles or something. Um, and that was 2 years. That was 2 years ago. And I said you can't trade those dudes. This year I'm saying you can't trade Maxi. I'm saying I don't want to trade Embiid, but what I'm saying is the person you cannot trade from this team is Maxi, Tyrese Maxi. I would accept a decent trade probably of anybody else. And as far as getting rid of Harden, Sixers are in a tough situation because Harden has a player option. So if he decides he wants to come back to the Sixers, he's back with the Sixers. Sixers have nothing. They can't say no. We don't want you back. All right, then buy me out. Like the Sixers are stuck. So it is what it is. Let me pull these notes back up real quick. Um, you asked the question, let Harden walk. I'm absolutely letting him walk. I'm absolutely because so what I noticed about James Harden with his time with the Sixers from day one on the court, he goes to the basket looking for foul calls, and if he doesn't get the call, you're basically not seeing him down the court for at least 15 seconds. That can't fly, not in Philly. And unfortunately, I noticed that Embiid kind of started going down that same lane where he was looking for foul calls all the time. I mean, every star does it, but Embiid started doing it a lot more when James Harden got there. I don't like that. Like you can ask for a foul call, look for a foul call, but get back down and play the game. And then like other people do, fuss about it once the whistle blows. Because like I believe that we lost a lot of the games that we lost just regular season and playoffs because of that. Just because of stuff like that. So yeah, I'm if he decides he doesn't want to be a Sixer, hey, thanks for your time. We enjoyed having good luck with the rest of your career. Hope you do well, except for when you play the Sixers. And I know you're letting them go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, you kind of alluded to it earlier, but it seemed like you don't think Doc should have been fired.
No, I do think it was time for him to be fired for the simple fact of you can't choke that many times in the playoffs in your career. I was just alluding to the fact that usually the coach is the scapegoat. You know, it's
Mhm.
usually. I mean, you could even argue that Girardi was kind of a scapegoat last year, but you know, you saw what happened almost instantaneously when Thompson took over. I think the Phillies went on like an 11 game winning streak, something insane. He played the young guys. So, you know, and when I saw some of the defensive strategy from Doc Rivers in game, it just didn't make sense. Like there are certain changes that he just wouldn't make that were. I'm not a basketball novice by any stretch of the means, but even I saw like why is the biggest guy on your court at half court on defense? Like it's just common sense to me. And if you can't get your players to buy into playing defense, just something as basic as just playing team defense, then deuces. You know what I mean? You're out.
So there's a coach out there. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He used to
Monty
coach the
Williams.
huh?
Monty Williams.
No, 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 no. He used to coach the Phoenix Suns when they were good with Steve Nash and all those guys. He was assistant here um with the Sixers at one point with Brett Brown. He was also a head coach in Houston for a time when James Harden was there and when James Harden was doing his thing. Um, his name is Mike D'Antoni. He was also a coach overseas. Mike D'Antoni is he does not coach defense at all. Like he doesn't. It said that he doesn't even care about defense. He just wants to outscore you. I don't want Mike D'Antoni here as the head coach, but here's why I feel like it could happen. James Harden wants to come if they want James Harden back. If I can't think of the GM's name right now or president of operations, I can't think of his name right now. Daryl Story,
Morey.
Daryl Morey. If he wants James Harden back, he hires D'Antoni as the head coach,
Hmm.
and then we'll be seeing Sixers games that are like 145 to 137. Like that's what we'll be seeing because there will be no defense whatsoever. And I feel like Joel Embiid is one of the better defenders in the league at that position. He just is, and then he'll probably take a step back.
Hmm.
And D'Antoni has never won a championship in the NBA. Just putting that out there. Um, yes, Monty Williams is available. Wouldn't mind seeing him. He was here. He's familiar. Mark Jackson is a name that has been out there for a while. I'd love to see Mark Jackson. He preaches defense. Um, hard nosed, tough guy, tough New York City point guard. Um, I would love to see Mark Jackson on the sideline for the Philadelphia 76ers. He is the architect of the Golden State Warriors, as we know, the Splash Brothers and all that. He is the go. He's the one that put them together. Sorry. So I think if I had a vote, my first vote would be Mark Jackson. My second vote would be Monty Williams, and then I might go Nick Nurse,
I was going to ask about
former head coach of the Toronto Raptors, and then make Mike Budenholzer. I read a report that was it Jeff Vogel used to coach the Lakers last year was in for an interview or something like that. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep you posted. We'll let you know how those things are working out. Just an update on the game real quick. Miami Heat are up 54-50 in the second quarter, the final minute of the second quarter. Now they're up 56-50. Let's talk a little bit Eagles. Eagles draft. We were not around for the last couple weeks, so we didn't get a chance to talk about the Eagles draft. How were you? I know you pay attention more than I do, and somebody's over there turning off my light.
Hmm.
Um, how did you feel about the draft?
I thought it was good. It was we got the players that we want. I was surprised at the partial focus on defense. But again, you have to think about Fletcher Cox is getting older, and
Mm-hmm.
we're still waiting to see what Jordan Davis really is. I mean they love Georgia. They
Yeah,
love Georgia, so it's I like what happened, and it's just the wait and see. I always get nervous when the Eagles have or any team when one of our teams has like a really quote unquote good draft, because something always happens and it doesn't always pan out. Because I
yeah,
always
that's
think,
like the whole Philadelphia. That's like Philly in general.
well, but I mean, like the Eagles kind of when Andy Reid first came in, although he inherited Brian Dawkins, which people forget, he came under Ray Rhodes, but then he drafted what Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepard and
Mm-hmm.
Michael Lewis. So it was like a great secondary that was all built through the draft. So you know, we'll see what happens. All I can say is wait and see.
Well, what do you think? What do you think happens?
I don't know. Two of them tear their ACLs. No, I think.
I mean, like, do you think like some of these younger guys are going to be playing right away? Do you think they're going to be eased into it? Do you think the defense is going to be stronger than last year's defense? It was too quiet. I had to make some noise. I didn't want people to think we went
that
away.
we that we have that we froze. Um, I like what I like our corners. But with this defense, and plus, remember we got a new defensive coordinator, which
Hmm.
I'm happy about that they hired from within. It's a brother of color, and that's great. It's just a matter of seeing how everything meshes together. You got one of the best corners in football. I almost said baseball. Um, and you got one of the best defensive tackles in the draft. So I like the possibility of the rotation because I think if you have that many big men up front and you can rotate them, I think that third and fourth quarter, late in the game, I think that's gonna help us out a lot. So I'm optimistic. I will say.
I'm optimistic as well. I know we got a new defensive coordinator and new offensive coordinator. Um, I'm interested to see what this coordinator brings. Like our last two coordinators didn't do a lot of blitzing, and I know in the 2000s in the Andy Reid era, this city fell in love with hard nosed defense and blitzing under
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson. Thank you. Um, Philly wants to see that again. Eagles fans want to see that again. Um, that you look like you maybe that you don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't think Eagles fans care as long as we win.
Well, I would beg to differ. You're right, but I still beg to differ. Here's why. When you get into your car and listen to the radio on your way to work after an Eagles win, everybody's happy.
Hmm.
Come Wednesday, Thursday, before they start talking about the game plan, or when they start talking about the game plan, you're talking about how the defense just can't always just lay back all the time. The defense needs to be aggressive, needs to start blitzing and all like that. And even though they're winning, you're still hearing people wanting the defense to be more aggressive.
Well, because Eagles fans are knowledgeable and they're thinking about. They're not looking at it from a wins and losses perspective. They're looking at it from winning a championship. So it's like, is this gonna fly in the playoffs? And say what you want about the Eagles defense. Currently, it's a better blitzing defense than I've seen in years.
Mm.
But I still was confused as far as the scheme in the Super Bowl because it just seemed like, especially the last two or three drives, like we just literally sat there and then come to find out that a lot of players believe that since the defensive coordinator already had a head coaching job, that he really wasn't in it anyway. So I really hope that we absolutely.
I really hope that is not the case, but it's like even if you do like, and I guess I can understand you being excited about being the head coach of a team. Excuse me, but like the Super Bowl, like I don't know, like how do you not put your best foot forward in the Super Bowl?
I think they should change the rules that a coach cannot accept a head coaching position until after the Super Bowl.
I think they should change the rule that a coach cannot even talk to another team until after the Super Bowl.
That used to be the case, I think, and then they changed the rule. Like I don't know why, but well,
It just doesn't make sense to me. To I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's just it's not right. It's not right. It's like they would call that tampering if it were players.
right,
You know what I mean? They would say, you talk if they knew it was a free agent and the team talks to the free agent about playing for their organization and they end up signing, they would say it was tampering.
right,
That's why they have the legal tampering period.
right.
But for coaches, I guess that's not the case. For the coach, you could talk to them whenever, huh? I don't know. We have to get somebody on to let us know about that. Um, you going back to the Super Bowl?
No,
Who's going? It's only best winning team.
Kansas City and Dallas.
Oh my god!
No, no, not Dallas. I'm sorry.
I will cancel this show.
No, it's gonna be. Who did I say it was gonna be? It was gonna be the Jets. I was joking about this the other day. It was gonna be the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers, and I forget the other team I said. Um, I don't know. It's too early for football. I'm just not in the mood
Too
for it.
early for predictions, but you know we're going to do it. We're not today, but we're going to do it. One more thing about the NFL. NFL says that has come out today that they are going to start flexing Thursday night football game. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I read about that this morning.
So I think it's a terrible idea. For one, I really the first of all, Thursday night football is a terrible idea anyway, right?
Right.
Even though you just love to have football on a Thursday, it doesn't give us the best quality of game that we're used to seeing from the NFL. It just gives us another day of football. Um, but with that being said, there's so many factors that go into flexing a Thursday night game that just kind of it's messed up. I think what the NFL is doing is probably very unfair, right? Because even if you have two good teams playing on a Thursday night, the game is still not that good. Like I feel like there was like one good Thursday night game this season. I don't even remember which one it was. It wasn't the Eagles game.
Sure as I wasn't.
Well, not from the Eagles fans' perspective. Maybe Houston thought it was all right. But I feel like there was one really good Thursday night football game, if I remember correctly. How do you feel about it, Miguel? Are you okay with like how you feel about Thursday night football in general, and then how you feel about them flexing the Thursday night game?
Thursday night football's trash, garbage. I always think back to the Super Bowl year, and I think the Eagles played Carolina on a Thursday night after that San Diego. Um, yeah, after I think it was a big game in San Diego, and then they had to play in Carolina. And I just remember it came down to a fourth quarter. I think the Eagles won like it was like 12 to like 10 something weird, and they had to run the ball like nine straight times to get first downs. It was just it was just horrible. But to flex, I mean, I guess I gotta read into it a little bit more. Are they talking about flexing, like having four teams playing the same night, or just saying, all right, you're gonna play Thursday and then you're not?
Well, the way I'm receiving it, it's just like a Sunday night game that they flex. They just decide to put two different teams on for that game.
Hmm.
So I guess the whoever was supposed to play will be playing on Sunday. I'm assuming, but they're
I mean,
supposed to also know like a couple weeks in advance.
I know that so the problem that they're running there's that they're trying to actually have better teams play Thursday night. So just don't play on Thursday night.
Yeah, just don't play on Thursday night. I mean, because now you're talking about having let's say the Niners. Let's say the Niners and the Chiefs are playing on a Thursday night, right? Um, that means you're taking them away from a game that will be Sunday, but maybe the whole world is not seeing them. But on Thursday night, the whole world will see them.
Right.
But they're going to see them in a poor capacity. They're going to be terrible.
Right.
It's going to be a bad game. Here's another perspective I want you to consider, Miguel. There are people that like they go to away games, like it's it's a Sunday game and they're going to go to on the way. Like Eagles fans travel very well,
Mm-hmm.
even whether it's in London, California. The Eagles fans travel well, right? And I know people that have gone on these trips, and they're like they'll be paying for the trip like now.
Right.
So what happens when your trip game now has become a Thursday night game? And you put in for vacation from your job, you pay for the tickets, airfare, and all like whatever it is you had to get, you did it. Now that game has moved from a Sunday afternoon or whatever to a Thursday night. Nothing you can do.
Not unless
Nothing.
not unless they partner with the hotels.
Well, they better do it soon because I guarantee you it's going to happen.
Because I know, like when we coach, for instance, and we go on our road trips, there's always like I think there was one trip. I think we were in Staten Island and we got rained out the last day, so they actually comped us or they gave us like a somewhat of a flex refund for the last day. I can't see unless the NFL again does something and has like some sort of package with the hotels. We're gonna flex these games, these possible. It sounds too more complicated than it's worth.
And it probably is. It probably is. There's got to be like they got to put some games in there that these are possible flex. Like they had to put through that earlier. Something
Well,
somehow. some way.
and they'll know because that's what they did with the Sunday schedule. With the Sunday schedule, it was like it's usually like weeks 12 and on. They could flex to either Sunday night or Monday night.
Well, with these, I think they're going to because when you're talking about a Sunday flex, all you're talking about is a different time of the day.
Right, but Thursday is just that's too.
Thursday's a whole different day. Yeah, you have to do something extra. You got to do something more. I don't know. Let us know what you think out there. Hit us up, leave us a comment, whatever the case may be. Um. Oh, I know what it was, Miguel, from earlier in the year. Oh,
And you
and the
said
guy's name I couldn't remember was Matthias.
Tyble,
Thibault.
Tyble.
But was
Was
it
he the one that
Matthias?
was he was on South Street uh doing something like eating with the folks or whatever?
He probably was. Was it Matthias Thibault? What's his name? I thought I'm getting his name wrong. Matisse Thibault. Matisse Thibault's his name. That's the one I said 2 years ago. Don't trade him, Maxi or Embiid. All right. Anyway, I remember what it was that was happening on the last time we did a show. Bryce Harper was coming back to the lineup that night,
Right.
but we were off because they were in San Diego that night or somewhere out west. They not San Diego, it was somewhere out west. Was it LA?
Yeah, yeah, because they were setting up for a big return
Yeah.
in LA because that was Trey Turner's
Right.
first back.
Yep. That's what it was. But now he's a regular in the lineup. He's been batting in the DH spot, designated hitter spot. For those that may not know what that means, um, kind of brought a spark to the lineup a little bit. You know, he's had a couple home runs, had some decent hits. Um, what has your opinion been of Bryce back in the lineup?
I mean, he's off to an okay start. Nothing to cry over, which is to be expected coming back from Tommy John surgery. So I think it's still too soon. It's been what less than a month that he's been back. It's he's always been a notoriously slow starter anyway. Because I think even either last April or the April before he was just off to a horrendous start. But he usually heats up when the weather gets warm. So you know I'll give him till like August or July before I pass judgment, fair judgment.
Okay, all right, I like it.
I'm more not upset, but just it's kind of frustrating to see Trey Turner struggling the way he has. Because I think he's like batting 234. He's got a lot of speed. He's playing good defense, but his hitting is just not worthy of the leadoff spot.
I have to. I think I have to say it now.
Uh oh.
What is it about Philadelphia that stars just don't do well here? What is it?
Not all stars. Some stars.
Bryce is doing okay. He's doing well.
Mm.
Andre Iguodala went somewhere else and won the championship. Drew Holiday went somewhere else and won the championship. All the
That's
Flash coaches they've had over the last 20 years went somewhere else and won a championship.
the issue with Iguodala is that the Sixers put so much pressure on him to be the AI apparent. When they saw it was like one of those things when you saw the sign that said AI 2.0, I'm like, he's done. You know what I mean? Like you can tell when you put something like that on certain athletes, like, oh, they're absolute. It's just like when I saw the Patriots and Giants Super Bowl. I knew that the Giants were going to win when they showed an intro with Russell Crowe doing the voiceover, and at the end of the voiceover to this intro, it said he was saying how are the Patriots the current day warriors, and they showed Jesus Christ on the cross. I'm like, they are gonna lose. I'm gonna love watching it. I knew me and my
Oh,
wife
I'm
were
not.
watching it. It was the first Super Bowl that me and my wife ever watched all the way through. We looked at each other. We're like, the Giants are gonna win. We knew they were gonna win. Didn't know how. And that was the Super Bowl with the crazy catch and
Helmet
at the
cat.
end of Plaxico, yeah, in the corner end zone. But yeah, that I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Mm. Well, I don't know. Trey Turner comes, he struggles. I still I watch baseball. Well, I watch baseball, but I start really paying attention to baseball after the All Star break. So Gerardo said no. Yeah, that's your brother.
Yeah, that is my brother.
I don't know what he's saying no to, but maybe he could let us know what he was saying no to. Um, let's look at these. Let's look at these what are they called? City Connect uniforms. These City Connect jerseys.
See, why are you laughing? Why the hell are you laughing?
Because these jerseys suck.
So, I was thoroughly disappointed. Like I said, I love the Seattle one. Um, I like the White Sox one. I really like. I like the Kansas City one. Although the Kansas City and the Cubs one are eerily similar. I don't know what San Diego was thinking, but this is the Baltimore Orioles City Connect jerseys. So a little bit of explanation. Okay. Other than the fact that the sleeves kind of look eerily like they were trying to harness their inner San Diego Padre, the explanation was that the colors in the sleeves, the different colors on the sleeves, actually represent the neighborhoods of Baltimore. And if you notice in the cut, like the inside, the inseam right here, that also has more colors. It's like you're trying to get rid of the orange. I don't get
Let
it.
me let me go ahead and say this. Those uniforms look like somebody found out that they were supposed to design the uniforms 4 hours before the project was due.
Right.
I look at these and they have the explanation, and I'm like,
See, but the
you put a bunch of colors on the collar and on the cuffs and say that this represents all the neighborhoods in Baltimore. Really?
but it's a shame because when you look at this, it actually has to come with an explanation.
It definitely, absolutely has to come with an explanation because what I'm looking at is
Like,
looks like somebody did that on the show, and,
yeah,
and then got tired of designing it.
right. They're just like, I'm just gonna just Baltimore. You know what I mean? So I was looking forward to Baltimore's City Connect. I really was, and I just have to say I'm just kind of disappointed.
I mean, let me think of some things. You probably know better than I do at this point. Let me think of some things that can better connect Baltimore than
Charm
what
City. It's called Charm City. Like there's so you could have
Charm City. Yeah,
you could have incorporated the harbor. You could have incorporated there's
crabs.
crab. Well, yeah. Um.
Here's something. Here's something. Oh
uh,
man, no, no, no. You know, I almost had a bad idea on air. I'll tell you what it was.
Thanks.
I'll tell you what the bad idea was. I was going to say you could have played on the Maryland flag, but no, you can't because it's a city connect, not a state connect.
Oh,
Thing is, people in Maryland love to. I don't know what it is about the Maryland's flag, but they
they,
love to rock the flag.
dude, it flies. We for the fall we have the R. So it's like the R with the it's like an emblem. They
Hmm.
put the flag inside the R. All of the kids though, they all of our players hated it. They're like, "We this flag is everywhere." I'm like, "Yeah, that's why you're not starting, Billy."
Yeah, Gerardo said, "What is that?" Yeah, it's terribleness is what it is. That's awful. That's embarrassing. Like I thought, what was it? The was it the Sixers or the Phillies? Like their first City Connect was kind of was pretty whack.
Who's
Um, I don't remember if it was the Sixers or the Phillies. It was a cream. I remember it was a cream uniform. I think it was the Sixers.
Sixers?
Cream
It was.
uniform, and it was like
It had like Finley stenciled Sixer, or no, it said
yeah,
Phila.
something
It had Phila, Phila.
in red.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah,
It was in red, and like the next year they came back with like the boathouse row, which was cool.
Is that the one that looked like the Denver Nuggets, John? Oh no,
Yeah,
that was
yeah, it
it was
was.
supposed to be in honor of the Spectrum. Yeah, I always
Oh
like
yeah,
the
that one was a little different. So they had the city ones that had the boathouse row. Then they had the Spectrum dedicated Spectrum ones. And this year they were a little different. I can't remember what they were, but they were a little different this year. Oh geez, I didn't see what time it was. Oh my goodness. Are you stumping me today? We didn't even, oh damn. See, that's what happens when we get to talking. Are you
oh,
stumping me today? Because I got a question for you today.
oh Lord,
Oh yeah, believe it. Uh oh.
you actually should get this. This is
what are,
basketball.
what are the teams? Dallas Mavericks, Sixers.
Yep.
What are the other teams?
Was it Nets and Timberwolves? I believe this was from last week. I meant to post for last week's show, and I forgot the teams already. The one I have for next week is gonna be a trick, but um,
It's the Sixers, Timberwolves, Mavericks, and Nets.
yeah, Sixers, Nets, and Mavs. So the Mavs had two different jerseys,
Okay, the last two are the Mavs.
right?
First two are Sixers, and then the Nets.
Hmm.
Number 70. Oh, I got it. I got it. Sean Bradley.
I was gonna
I'm
say
mad.
if
I'm
you
mad it took
didn't,
me that long.
I was gonna say if you didn't get this one,
Yeah, I'd have been mad. Sean Bradley, and that was the year that Sixers could have drafted. Was it Chris Webber?
yep.
The Sixers could have drafted Chris Webber. The Sixers could have drafted Jason Tatum. The Sixers could have drafted only all the people the Sixers could have drafted.
Eagles could have had Warren Sapp and Randy Moss.
The Sixers could have drafted Paul Pierce. The Sixers could have drafted Dirk Nowitzki.
The Paul Pierce one wasn't that we got Larry Hughes instead.
That was Larry Hughes. Yep.
So we had Larry Hughes, Jerry Stackhouse, Iverson, and
Derek Coleman or Clarence Weatherspoon, one of the two.
no, it was Coleman because Witherspoon was in the '90s with Barrows.
Well, Coleman was in the '90s with all them too.
Well, he came back. He came back in.
Coleman, I mean, Weatherspoon was already on the team before Iverson and Stackhouse,
Right,
and
right,
he
right,
was
right,
he
right.
was there when they got there. And remember, he was supposed to be the next Charles Barkley. Remember that?
God, stop it.
Clarence Weatherspoon. All right, you ready for your stumpation?
Maybe.
All right, let me see if I can. I'm gonna make it so I can. Oh, you want to talk about that real quick?
Sure. Just so you know, keep everybody up to date.
All right, so go ahead. I'll let you talk about it.
So a couple weeks ago, an announcer for the Oakland A's, Jim, uh, no has a job now, whatever his name is.
Can
He
you
was
guys
appeal.
guess which one it is?
What'd you say?
I said, can you guys guess which one it is?
If you would have told me that one of these two guys was gonna make a racial comment, it'd
You
be
got it wrong.
it'd be a coin toss. So anyway, this little Freudian slip, if you will, was verbalized a couple weeks ago. This is what he said. We had a phenomenal day today. Nigger League Museum and Arthur Bryant's barbecue. So that was quote unquote misspoken on national television. The Oakland A's decided to, or actually, it's NBC California, decided to part ways with Jimmy um, for the racial epithet. I'm sorry, his name is Glenn Cooper or Cooper. He gone. Um, he gone. In a statement from the NBC Sports California, they said following an internal review, because of course they had to do a 2 week internal review on something that was broadcasted on national television. The decision has been made for NBC Sports California to end its relationship with Glenn Cooper effective immediately. We thank Glenn for his dedication to the Bay Area baseball organization over the years. So he did issue an apology later in the broadcast, but it kind of fell on deaf ears. So long and goodbye. What would he be the dummy of the week?
Yeah, he would be the dummy of the week if I had that prepared. I should have had that prepared. Um, Here's what gets me about that video. When you watch that video, neither one of them flinched when it happened.
Neither one.
Neither one of them flinched when it happened.
Yeah.
And I know, in TV, you gotta, when something goes wrong, you gotta act like it didn't. But not even a flinch, not even a blink.
Dude, even when what's his name? When he said George Bush hates black people, even Mike Myers was like, "Okay, we're gonna move on." Kanye
Right.
West.
Mike Myers was like, "Yeah, I don't think this is what we were here for, but okay."
Yeah, and plus he was thinking I can't really make a joke out of that.
No. So here is your stumpation, and don't try to pick the question because I'm going to ask the question for you.
Okay, taking charge.
What famous criminal was once a professional baseball player? Was it John Dillinger, Ted Bundy, Lucky Luciano, or Al Capone?
Ooh,
I know what my guess is, but it's not for me.
Ted Bundy for some reason is glaring out to me because he was
Would you
kind
like
of.
me to select Ted Bundy?
I'm leaning towards that or Lucky Luciano. Let's go Ted Bundy.
He says Tim Bundy. Tim Bundy. Ted Bundy is not correct. You hear it now, huh?
Oh, loud and clear. I was wrong. Uh, let's go Dillinger.
That
No,
okay.
let's go Lucky.
Lucky Luciano.
Son of
Incorrect.
if it's Al Capone, it can't be Al Capone. Let's go Dillinger.
Dillinger is my guess as well. Yes, like most red-blooded American boys at the time, young John Dillinger was an avid baseball fan. During the summer of 24, he played shortstop for the Martinsville Athletics. His team high batting average earned him a $25 reward from the local Old Hickory Furniture Company.
Nice.
I wonder if that was like a big deal at the time.
$25.
$25. Yeah.
I guess for if you're adjusting for inflation, it's like 5,000.
That was prior to the depression, wasn't it?
Yeah, depression was like 29 through like
29, right? Yeah.
34. Yeah,
Look at us knowing the history.
all shucky duckies.
Hopefully, we're not wrong. All right. Well, with all that being said, we're going to get out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging with us here on the Check Swing Podcast once again with myself and my man, Coach Santa. Make sure you check us out next week, excuse me, the day after Memorial Day, if we can make it. Make sure you check us out here,
I'll
and
be
we'll
around.
probably be talking about, by that time, we could be talking about the NBA Finals. But right now, Boston is up 68-61 right now.
They would
I
lose.
personally called for the sweep after the first game.
One more thing.
Mhm.
Um, this past week, a legend passed away,
Yes,
and
thank you.
we just want to pay homage to the late great Jim Brown, uh, arguably the greatest running back and lacrosse player that ever played both sports.
A lot of people don't know that he was a great lacrosse player as well. So yeah, rest in peace, Jim Brown. Job well done. That a lot of people look up to him coming up. Like OJ wanted to be like Jim Brown, Emmett Smith, You know what I mean? So Jim Brown paved the way for a lot of guys to play the game, and he was also an actor. He was an athlete and an actor. People forget that too. So rest in peace. Jim Brown passed away at the age of 87. Um, so with all that being said, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging with us for the Check Swing Podcast. We'll talk to y'all next time right here, Blue Tools Radio's YouTube channel. Peace.